randomly had the urge this morning to check out a record from the early 2000s, rock and roll slash garage rock boom by the Hives. Don't remember from which country they originated. I don't want to sound like an ignorant Jersey boy and try to guess. I believe it was an Eastern European nation, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I realized recently I've developed a new and in many ways first time appreciation, because I kind of dismissed this song back in the day, but I developed an appreciation for their big hit, Hate to Say I Told You So. Total banger. Great rock and roll. So I got curious. I thought I'd throw on the album. I think it's called Vendi Vicious. This song is Outsmarted. Great energy, punk garage rock energy. The vocalist is amazing. He probably lost his voice in about 2 years after singing like this. You can't sustain that, but hey, you know, at its best, art is a selfless effort. You create what you create, you produce what you produce, in order to give to people outside of you. That also underscores one of my foundational beliefs about being an artist, is that in order to complete the full circle of creation, you need to find an audience. That could just be a friend that appreciates what you do. It could be your mom that appreciates what you do, or it could be billions of people around the world, like Taylor Swift has. But that is a necessary and essential part of the artistic life cycle. Here's the big hit. Great tune. Where did I come from? I know where I was going. Where did I come from with that tangent? Oh boy. Yeah, artist needs an audience. I lost it. I'm driving too while I do this. So. But anyway, yeah, the album's really cool. I really like it. I'm gonna sound a little redundant, but it's just great driving, kind of unhinged garage rock energy, and that's punctuated by the singer. You know, in their videos, and just audibly by the sound and delivery of his voice, he sounds a little crazy, and that always works well for rock and roll. So yeah, I mean, and I think at this point, I mean, it's been over 20 years since that, you know, the Strokes induced amazing, wonderful blast, you know, of the early 2000s of just great rock and roll music happened. I found this morning too, when thinking about it while listening to this record, I can reflect on it with a pretty clear head. And the bands of that time, and I think Interpol, which is a great band. I love Turn on the Bright Lights. That's one of my favorite records. But they're really emblematic of what I'm about to describe. The way that bands like them operated back in the early 2000s. I mean, the music was great. First and foremost, they made great music and great art. But as a band, as a brand, they were very image focused. Very brand focused, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just, you know, this isn't so much of a criticism, it's more of an observation. On the lowest level, the lowest rung of the ladder, I was playing music back then during the Strokes era of New York, and I was in a band and playing on my own, so I got a bit of a first-hand glimpse of how musicians operated and approach their music during that time. And, you know, as I just said, it was a lot of focus on presentation, which is always necessary no matter what you're doing, no matter how pure you are. You know, Bob Dylan had cool hair, he wore cool sunglasses. Presentation's always a part of what you do. If you leave your house, you have to worry to some extent about your presentation. You can't walk out of the house with your pants on your head, and if you do, you're probably going to be arrested for suspicions of, I don't know, mental incompetence, mental illness, and you should be expected to have a backlash to that kind of behavior and presentation. Yeah, so Interpol, you know, they spent a lot of effort thinking about how they were going to look. They decided on a generally an all-black appearance, slightly gothic, slightly new wave, and then with a strong element of this pretty fresh spin on rock and roll that was happening in New York and in Williamsburg, Brooklyn at the time. Yeah, I'm missing these songs. The Hives in something. Can't read the rest of the title. But if you look at it from that angle, those bands, they weren't any different from Poison and the Sunset Strip bands of the mid to late 80s. Who, yeah, I mean, especially Poison, you can't knock them. I mean, you can knock them for many things, but what you can't knock them for is writing, not every tune, but they wrote a bunch of great tunes, and more specifically, they wrote great hooks. So their priority was to write great music, even if it was just through, by way of writing a great hook, a great chorus. They genuinely wanted to deliver a great musical product to people. But, you know, if you know anything about Poison, they were very focused on their image. Interpol, other bands, I'm trying to think of other bands I got thrown off the top of my head. The Hives, I mean, look at their look, very uniform, and it's great. They did a great job of it. So did Poison, but even though it got a little weird in the 80s, which I also love, how weird and free it got. But yeah, I mean, it's the same method, the same, I don't want to say fame hungry, but that is an element, accomplishment hungry, hunger to be established as a musical artist and a musical entity, as a musical brand. Same approach as the most calculated musical product that's ever been pushed out by the industry. So, you know, it gets dressed up different sometimes. I mean, in Seattle, the Seattle scene, which was an amazing renaissance of rock music in the early 90s, you know, they dressed it up pretty good. You know, they dressed it up in sincerity and rawness. But, you know, even Kurt Cobain going on stage in a punk rock t-shirt and ripped jeans, that was genuinely who he was, especially at a young age. But if it didn't look good on stage, if it didn't enhance his brand as a heavily punk rock inspired musical rock and roll artist, he wouldn't have done it. If wearing a suit and tie on stage enhanced Kurt Cobain's punk rock inspired music, he would have done that. So yeah, you look at things from different angles. You peel the surface back on some things, and you find interesting parallels and very typical and expected parallels amongst human beings and amongst ambitious human beings. You know, such as human beings trying to accomplish something within an art form such as music. Yeah. So Interpol and Poison and Nirvana. Brothers, allies of the same mind and artistic focus of different eras. Bret Michaels, Kurt Cobain, he's great. I don't remember the singer of Interpol. Same face, different haircut, different clothes. Okay, gonna hit the gym. Thanks for watching.